Hello, namaste, good morning, good afternoon, or even good evening in whichever part of the world you are joining us from. My name is Deepak R. Khemani and I am the co-founder of Bloom. Bloom is the brainchild of Miss Payal Irani. Bloom is a flower that has blossomed and is spreading its fragrance across the globe. At Bloom, we are into physical and mental wellness, trainings, speaking engagements, and creating signature workshops for corporates and individuals who desire to go to the next level. Bloom has a powerful and a dynamic team which has been handpicked. They are the who's who in their respective domains and are industry veterans having an accumulated 200 plus years of experience. At Bloom, we strongly believe in co-creation, collaboration, and teamwork. I invite each and every one of you to be a part of Bloom, where together we grow, and as Bloom blossoms, it creates ripples the world over. Joining me today in hosting this program is another one of our co-founders, Dr. Neeta Matre Mishra.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon.
Yes, welcome, Dr. Neeta. And today we have a dynamic personality in the form of Harun Rabbani. He is joining us all the way from London. He will be talking to us about how to become an inspirational speaker. Before that, I'll just take 2 minutes to introduce Harun. Harun's purpose is to help people know, live, and speak their truth. The individual who lives authentically will enjoy meaningful relationships, meaningful work, and have a meaningful life. Harun helps his clients to remove the blockages, barriers, and illusions that prevent them from experiencing true meaning in their lives. Harun is an internationally acclaimed speaker, trainer, and motivator, having given keynotes in 25 different countries to an international audience. There is so much to speak about him in his introduction. What I would like to do is give the chance to Harun to tell us a little bit about what he does, a little bit about himself, his journey, where he started and where he has reached. And later on, we will do Q&A amongst us, and then we will open it up for the audience to ask him any questions. Over to you, Harun.
Good morning, namaste, and every other greeting in every other language for wherever you are in the world. Thank you very much for having me on here. It's a challenge asking me, actually. For me, it's a challenge. Who am I? What do I do? Because the truth is a lot of people are fixated on titles and achievements, etc. And we know that everybody has challenges in their, in their life, whether they're a doctor, a professor, a farmer. Everybody has got challenges. In essence, we are, rather than getting fixated on who we are, focus on what we are. And the perspective I see is that we're all spiritual beings having a human experience. There is no separation. There is no separation between you and I, or you and I. I'm in here in England speaking with you, and you're in Mumbai. We're from the same culture, we're the same people, but it doesn't matter whether we're from India, from Africa, from Latin America, from China. We are one. And so when we focus on what we are, energy beings, spiritual beings, when we focus on that and we keep awareness to that, because that's the truth of who we are. So let me give you an example. What do I mean by this? And this is so critical. I don't think words can ever express, we're speakers, right? I don't believe words are powerful enough to express what I'm about to share. So I want you to imagine that you're a miner, you're a diamond miner. You go down deep into the pit and you see this blackness everywhere. And amongst this blackness everywhere, you see something sparkle. You pull it out, it's a rock. You take it up and it's like an everyday rock. There's no big deal. But because you know how to spot a diamond, you realize it's a diamond. And even after you wash the dirt away, you're still left with a rock, which isn't really very pretty. And so you send it off to a diamond cutter. And so the diamond cutter will cut different faces, facades, they're called, facade, face. They'll cut a different facade. And then what you do is you put the diamond to the light, and a very good cutter will be able to cut it in such a way that it gives multiplicity of colors from different angles. And so I guess that's what makes it precious. But the truth is, when you look at me or I look at you, I am a dad. I got my sons. I'm not your dad, but to them, I'm the face of their dad. Somebody else, my mother, I'm the face of her son. I'm not your son. I'm her son, my father's son. And so, for example, Neetaji, she's a doctor. She's not my doctor. She's a whole bunch of people's doctors. And so every time we focus on our identity, and remember, wars are fought over identity, religion, race, borders. When we focus on the identity, we are focused on externalities of what other people see. But the truth is, when you realize what you are, you can shape your life and transform it to be in resonance with the people you're speaking with, communicating with. So the language I speak, so how I'm speaking with you, sharing with you, isn't exactly how I would speak with my children. And if I spoke to you how I spoke with my children, it would sound patronizing, especially if they're 3, 4, 5 years old. Yes. So to answer a very simple question and make it very long, what am I? I am very simple. I am actually merely a mirror. As a speaker, as a presenter, as a coach, I focus on health. That's my big arena. I was trying to avoid becoming a doctor because, you know, if you're a Indian, Bengali, your parents want you to be a doctor, lawyer, accountant, or an engineer. My grandmother died at when I was only very young, and she raised me for the first 5 years. You know, this is what happens. My mother, this is in Bangladesh at the time, it was East Pakistan. She raised me for the first 4.5 years, so she was more like a mother. And when she died from cancer, having struggled for 7 years, I just got turned off medicine. But I ended up working in the field of medicine. Working with gastroenterologists, ENT surgeons, with the leading pioneers in the UK, from the UK, spent a decade there. And I realized this is interesting because I was selling medical equipment, but in my mind, I wasn't selling medical equipment. In my mind, I was saving lives. Through the help of my doctor friends, my customers, I was saving lives. And then I realized many years later, you know, Actually, it was before I started medical, I realized when I was in America once as a student, I heard a speaker speak. His name was Mortuttley. And when I heard his storytelling, I thought, wow, I am so blown away. One day when I grew up, I was 22 at the time. One day when I grew up, 22, I want to do that. I want to teach people how to grow businesses, to do sales. The seed was planted then, and then 10 years later, I became a speaker, a presenter, and ask away any questions you want. Today, I speak not so much. I do. I mean, as you can tell, you can't stop a speaker speaking. Today, I do go speaking, obviously, because of the pandemic. I don't go around the world speaking so much. I have other responsibilities, but occasionally I do get to speak. So tonight, for example, I am speaking at an fundraising event with several hundred people. They're going to do a fire walk to overcome their challenges. Of course, firewalking came from India, and the British have managed to commercialize it. So I'm going to go and speak about emotional intelligence. That's later on today. So there you go. That's a quick synopsis of my background.
Yes, you know, in the last 5 minutes, you've given us a condensed version of your 20-25 years of experience of your life. Now, since we are on the topic of inspiration and motivation, and you mentioned the first time you had you heard somebody on stage, and that gave you the inspiration that this is who I want to become. Now, you go online nowadays, and if you search for a motivational speaker, there are a few thousand, hundreds of thousands of listings. Everybody who is anybody is now an inspirational and a motivational speaker. Somebody does a 3-day program of Tony Robbins, and from that day onwards, he tags himself trained by Tony Robbins, and now I am a motivational speaker. So you gave that example of that miner who goes down into that coal mine, and he has that eye. He can make out, this is the rock I want to take out, cut, and this will become a diamond. So how does one choose amongst these so many inspirational, motivational speakers to decide this person is my mentor? I want to become like him. I want to become coached like him or her. How does one decide?
Brilliant question, brilliant observations. I am a bit of a critic. I don't verbally criticize in my mind. I'm a bit of a perfectionist. The truth is, you're 100% correct. Every Tom, Dick, or Harry wants to be a motivational speaker. Not everybody wants to be one. They'll go to an event, and then it's a bit like, so I do healing practices. I'm descended from 600 years of healers and mystics, and there's a natural gift. And I didn't want to become a healer. Why the heck would you want to become a healer? There's no money in it. And number one, it's not really that much of a great career. Number two, a lot of people are very skeptical and cynical. However, it's a gift. And I've observed people in this field go and do a 2-day weekend course, and they call themselves I won't say the name, profession, master. How are you a master? You haven't mastered. You've only started learning. And the arrogance that goes on in the world is beyond imagination. You've observed it. How do you discern who is a speaker who will help you shift? Number one, I'm not a fan of the word motivational speaker. To me, when someone has to motivate you to do something, then that something isn't important to you. It's not a goal. So, you've got personal trainers. They motivate you. Come on, you can do it. Do one more set, one more round, or one more lap. Yes, I understand that the person's in physical pain. There's motivation required. However, people misunderstand what motivation means. For example, you go to the gym, and sometimes, if you're a fitness person, or maybe you do yoga. I'm a yoga practitioner as well. So you go to the gym, and you think, oh, goodness, I don't want to go onto the treadmill. Oh, I don't want to do it today. And so you know what you do? You go on there and you go, oh, take one step, another. You start speeding up. And then all of a sudden, you got motivation. And in 1 minute, initially, for a long time, you thought, okay, I'm going to go there, just get out as quickly as I can. Next minute, you see that this person's in the gym for 90 minutes because they're motivated. Motivation follows action. Action leads to a generation of energy, which gives you more motivation. So it's a dopamine fix. You're generating dopamine. What I look for is inspiration. Important word. Inspire comes from the Latin words inspirare. Within, spirare, spirit. It's to lift the spirit within. What do we do when we inspire, Dr. Nita? We breathe in, we inspire, we breathe in the spirit. So when you inspire someone, you are helping them to lift their spirits. You do not have to, love what Tony Robbins has been doing for many years, but everyone wants to be Tony Robbins. Here's the truth. Tony Robbins is trying to motivate people, and he also is an inspiration. He does both. But to me, if someone has to say, rah, 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 jump up and down to get you lifted, then that's really, your message is too weak. An inspirational speaker is somebody who lifts you up emotionally. You hear the story, go, wow. Now, here's the difference. This is where you spot the difference. Somebody can tell you a story and say, oh, I climbed the mountain, Mount Everest, my arm got locked in, I fell, slipped, my arm got locked between rocks, and I had to slice my own hand off, my arm off in order to save my life. True story, right? And here's what your audience is going to be hearing. They'll be going, oh my God, you are so amazing. I can't do that. Here's what an inspirational speaker will do for you, or an inspirational storyteller. You hear the story and go, oh my goodness, that is so amazing. I'm amazing. I can do that. So an inspirational speaker, which is what I would aim for, who inspires you. You listen to them, they go, oh, I can do that. That's how you choose. It's called resonance. You know, we have radio stations. Where you are, you've probably got thousands of radio stations. You got all sorts of dial. You got your dial. You turn it up. So in the UK, we have Radio 1. Radio 1 is the pop music, the modern music. Radio 3 is classical. Do you want to listen to classical music? You can turn the dial as much as you like. If you're on Radio 1, Radio 2, Radio 4, you're not going to hear Radio 3. So as a speaker, you have a certain level of energy you're giving out automatically, naturally. It's called charisma. Yeah, it's called charisma. You've got this automatic energy coming out. Here's different levels of frequency. No, it's not bad or good. It's just different levels of frequency. Inspiration happens when this frequency and this frequency match, and this frequency is able to lift up this one. So that's inspiration. That's also called resonance. Yeah. Resonance means you are tuned in. So look for somebody who you're tuned into. I don't go looking to try to impress people and motivate people. Hey, hire me as a speaker. I don't care. If I've got a message that is resonant with someone, they'll find me.
Yeah.
So you know, we don't have to get desperate about it. So to discern, to decide who is the most apt speaker for you, go for that person you resonate with, that person who lifts you up without having to shout and jump up and down like a monkey, you know, just somebody who makes you feel good inside.
Yeah. Wonderful. I mean, such a plain and, you know, very, very simple explanation on how to, you know, define both, how to choose. And as you said, at some level, the resonance will drive you. It will magnetize you. That is where the attraction happens. Automatically you come and meet. So I'll just share my personal example with you. I like to be around with people, and, you know, I like to hug people and have a physical connection between people. And after that, there are people whom I have never met in my life, you know, never seen. This is the first time I'm meeting before. And then they tell me, Deepak, there is something about you. There is some energy in you. You know, when we hug you, something happens with us. How did you build it? Where does it come from? Now, I'm at a loss to explain to them, this is the way I am. This is me. This is the way I've built. I don't know to explain. I'm unable to tell them where this energy is coming from or how is it resonating with you. So how would you define something like this, where there is some attraction, but I'm unable to explain it?
Oh, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful question. And it's beautiful. I mean, when I look at you, by the way, you can, you know, look at someone's face and it gives you a very strong indication of the kind of quality that person has. So when I look at your face, you've got this face of someone who's warm, who's gentle, who's caring, an empathic person. Somebody that's you. It's not a compliment, it's true. I'm giving you facts. I look at you, but you're also somebody who others will want to take advantage of. Human nature. You're somebody who perhaps isn't going to be cutthroat, you know, with that killer instinct that maybe you need to have if you're a lawyer or something like that. You might be, I don't know. But the point is, you've got this gentleness about you. But how do people have this feeling? I'll tell you how. Your thoughts are one thing. Comes from your head, actually comes beyond your head, but that's a different level of science. The thoughts are one thing. Your heart has enough neurons, in fact, 40,000 neurons working with each other independently of the brain. Now, whilst your thoughts, which include your words, by the way, give off a certain vibration because it's an electromagnetic object, your heart is 5,000 times more powerful. It carries information that don't come out of your mouth. They come from who you are, come from your heart. So have you, for example, ever been in a networking event and you met someone, they haven't said anything, and sometimes you go, ugh, I don't want to be near this person, or somebody else, and you haven't really looked at them. Maybe it's dark because it's an evening time event, low lights, and you go, oh, there's something special about them. That, my friend, comes from the heart. And there's a secret. I'm going to share with you one of the biggest secrets to transforming audiences. Here's what I do before I go on. I go and pray to God. You know, and the prayer is very simple. So, dear God, dear Lord, it could be anybody's God, doesn't matter. Dear God, allow me, please help me to serve this audience for their highest good. So that, you know, but that's it. It's as simple as that. Please help me serve. So whatever words come out, please let them be something that will impact their lives. Now, I allow the words to come. I never have a script. I never have any ideas I'm going to say, by the way. People have asked me, what's your script? What's your present? I'm like, I don't have a script. I don't even know what I'm going to say. Tonight I'm speaking to 200. There might be 300 people there. I don't know. Doesn't matter. What am I going to say? I don't know, because that talk, because I'm the final speaker, I'll be closing the event. It might be 5 minutes long. It might be 50 minutes long. I'll just feel it. And so here's what happens. You go on stage and you allow your heart to speak. Because when your heart speaks, it comes from kindness and compassion and caring. When your head speaks, you're trying to figure things out. I'll give you a real life example. So one of the greatest speakers I've ever come across in England is a friend of mine now, and he was a mentor for a while. His name is Richard Wilkins. And when he spoke, you laughed, you cried. He had products. He always had products, books mainly. He'd sell out. And so I used to be part of the Professional Speakers Association in the UK, and I was involved in the committee. This is, I don't know, 15 years ago. And he was speaking, I was speaking that night as well. But I was in a different town. I was in London. This was in Birmingham. So I was delayed. And so he spoke, and then I spoke. So he was a very good warm-up act for me. And when I spoke, I must have spent days and days preparing a 45-minute presentation. I was going to be talking about how do you build a referral-based business to these professional speakers. For 45 minutes, I spoke. 43 of those 45 minutes, I shared my story. 3 minutes, I spoke about building the business. In the 43 minutes I spoke, they were laughing, they were crying, it was like, but I was just sharing stories. Look, you guys are laughing at my sad story. What's going on? But you know what? I was speaking from the heart. And that night, Richard, I remember, amazing guy and speaker to this day. He had all these books and so on, and everyone was lost, as in so captivated by the experience with me. I don't want to say my story, because I don't know if they like the story or not, but they were so captivated and enraptured by it, they forgot to buy his books. And I'm like, I didn't try to stop him from selling books, but so really it's about speaking from the heart, and you can't engineer that.
Yes.
Because if you engineer it, you're in your head.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That
is why. I mean, that is why storytelling is the most powerful skill in the world. That is why most of these speakers who stand up on stage and thousands of people pay and turn out to listen to them is because of their storytelling abilities. And it is their stories. They are not telling anybody else's stories. It is their own story. Everybody wants to listen to their story. Emotional storytelling, as you said, from the heart, and storytelling from the brain is very, very different.
So I'll just stop you there for 2 seconds. Emotional storytelling. Now, here's the thing, and this is a mistake a lot of people make. They make the mistake of trying to make their story emotional. Mistake. Here's why. According to neuroscience, every memory, every experience that you have, you've got all the logical information, you've got the senses, the 5 senses involved in the story, hopefully. Every experience that you have generates some kind of emotion. Otherwise, it doesn't become a memory. We know this because when they've done lobotomies, which means they've taken out the amygdala, which is responsible for a lot of the emotions, especially the survival ones, when they've removed that, that person can't make a decision. They can't remember stuff. They can't even figure out if they should put their left shoe on or right shoe on. So we know that emotions are involved. So when you share a story, do you think they even hear your story? No. Here's what happens. If you've ever been to movies, I'm sure, you know, being in Mumbai, you might have seen 1 or 2 movies in your life. When you watch a movie, even if it's based on real life, even if the main star is the bad guy, you become the hero or the heroine. You hear your story. It might not be the same, it might be totally different. You become the hero in your own mind. So you're experiencing the movie as if you are that person, even if they're a bad guy. Now, I grew up with watching Amitabh Bachchan back in those days. And I was always Amitabh Bachchan, even at this is 1980s, of course. We're slightly delayed here in the UK. I remember I became that. And so it's very important to understand that your words are creative and they're destructive. There are some words in between, like of, the, and, which are neutral, but most words are either creative or destructive. So be careful. Here's the important bit, you know, going to an event and suddenly be a guru and an expert. I mean, the word guru, it's from our culture, right? It's been destroyed. No, the word hasn't been destroyed. It's been, I use the word criminal language, it's been bastardized. Yes. Marketing guru, financial, what? What does that mean? To us, guru is someone who's mastered an area. A guru is someone who dispels darkness. So that's literally what it means. And it's somebody who's worked on themselves and they're helping others. So when you speak, your words have the effect to heal. Yes. It is so, please, please, please. I'm pleading with you to all understand, whether you're watching live or recording, recognize that every word out of your mouth has an impact. I'm not talking about the neutral words of and, the, is, that, etc. Mugger and all that kind of stuff, you know. But I'm talking about your stories have an impact. So here's the danger. And this is where the problem is. And I've seen lots of people, especially in the last 10 years or so in the UK, get trained to become professional. Well, they get trained to speak. They're not professional yet. When they speak, they will share a sad story. It may be that they've been raped or abused and they will share their story. They've not healed. So what are they doing? They are making that stage and the audience their therapist. The stage is their clinic. The audience is their therapist, and they speaking, it's for them as therapy. Let me tell you this. Your audience is not your therapist. They are not there for you to talk about stuff that you haven't healed. Because here's what happens. As you speak, remember what I said, they will hear their story. Now, I do deal with a majority of my clients are women, because men are a bit slow to jump to working on themselves internally. Externally, yes, muscle building, yes. Internally, a bit more challenged in the UK, at least. So out of the clients, they come to me for a whole variety of reasons, health relations and all sorts of stuff. But about 75, 80% have been sexually abused, child abused, something's happened to them. So if I go on stage and start sharing how I've been abused, especially if I haven't, number one, if I haven't healed it, here's what happens. I will radiate the energy of trauma. If I've healed, that's a different matter. You radiate the energy of healing. This is why gurus can go on stage, speak, or even be present, and you feel being healed. So it's very important that there's a Greek god saying, his Dionysius, I think that's his name. I don't know if I pronounced it correctly. He said this. I love this saying. When I used to train speakers all over Europe, I used to do this. I used to tell them this: let thy speech be better than silence. Let thy speech, in other words, the words that come out of your mouth, be better than silence, or remain silent. The best speakers don't necessarily speak. They give you pauses. I was speaking once where I had a script, notes written on, and I memorized my speech, which I've never really done ever. This one time I was launching an organization, and I was speaking. I said to the audience, you know what, forget the card. And so I was speaking, and at some point I paused. And a number of people afterwards said, Harun, oh my God, when you pause, it allows me to process information. It's so impactful. The only reason I actually paused on that occasion was because I forgot my lines. And I thought, okay, I won't say anything. A lot of people said, I don't know what to say. So I paused. I forgot my lines, but that gave them the chance to process. So when, so don't try to diarrhea out of your mouth with words, because it's not helpful. It's okay to pause. It's okay to take your time. Not all the way through your speech, because they'll fall asleep. You'll hypnotize them. So yes, there you go.
Yeah. Clearly, the message you are giving out in your personal example is there will be times when you will forget. And
Absolutely.
There is nothing wrong in taking that step back and trying to recollect what you've forgotten, or even on stage admit, I forgot what I was going to say.
You know what? I learned this from Richard, actually, my mentor. One of the things that everybody wants from the audience is laughter. Not at the serious bits, if they're telling jokes. I'm going to tell some jokes, laughter. They're also everybody as a presenter wants to be liked. And I'm sure that you guys are going to do this now once, because this works like a dream. I've tried it out. You go on stage and say, hey guys, before I even start, can I ask you a big favor? Number one, I'm nervous, because everybody is nervous. Even if you're a professional speaker, Tony Robbins gets nervous. That's why he has to wind himself up and get rah, rah, rah. So everyone's nervous. We know that. I'm nervous. It's one of the biggest fears for most people in the world. It's public speaking. I'm here on stage, and occasionally I'm going to tell some jokes. When I do that, first I say to them, I want you to like me, because so I feel good. That's it. So can you do me a favor for the next 45 minutes, next hour? Can you just like me? You don't have to like me afterwards. Just like me with that. Straight away, you're going to get laughter. It calms, because your audience is as nervous as you are, by the way, because they're just giving 45 minutes, 1 hour of their life to you.
Yes.
And it's your duty to connect with them. So second thing is, with me, I say, look, I'm going to tell some jokes. They're not always funny, but because they're dad jokes sometimes, but please laugh anyway. And they laugh. There you go. From then on, you've told them, you've asked permission, they said they'll do it. And if they don't do it, then there's something wrong with them. But generally they do. So if you make a mistake, say, look, I've forgotten what I was going to say, but I'll come back to that if I remember, when I remember. So be human, because here, remember, resonance, every single one of them thinking, oh my God, I don't want to be on stage speaking. They're actually thinking how brave this person is.
Yeah.
You need this courage to be on stage, because you're opening yourself up to the world. Seek permission from your audience. Ask them to support you. And they're not there to go, ooh, I want to say boo to this person. Maybe if they're drunk, or at a comedy club. But besides that, they're not there to bring you down. They're there on your side. Just remind them, hey, be on my side, like me, laugh at my jokes, ask me questions, and so on.
Yeah. You've instantly established that rapport with the audience. You've instantly communicated to them, I'm human. I'm just like you. I will make mistakes, and I want you to be on the same plane, on the same page I am. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing this. I'm sure this will help us all out. You spoke about energy. You spoke about, we are all spiritual beings. However, for some reason, in some people, that energy is latent. It isn't coming out. It isn't expressive. How do you, if you are mentoring someone, or if you find there is this spark in this person, there is that black diamond, I need to polish him. How do I identify that this person has that spark, has that energy, has that capacity, and how do you mentor him or her?
Okay, great question. Clearly, you do some mentoring. So everybody has a story to tell. They might not tell it. Everybody's not meant to tell a story. Just to be clear, this is important. Everyone has the right to speak, a right to share their experience. Very important. But not everybody is designed to be an inspirational speaker. Because maybe, so one of the reasons I left, and I'll probably rejoin them again soon, professional speaking, as in the association, not the speaking itself. In 2003, I'm listening to a lot of these speakers, not everyone, I mean, some amazing guys, they're friends of mine. I'm listening to them thinking, yeah, but that's all talk. At that time 2007, 2008, I was so busy fundraising and building a school in, at the time, the poorest country in the world, which is Sierra Leone. I was building that. And I thought, I haven't got time to talk. I'm too busy doing. And so a lot of people are out there doing stuff way more powerful than speaking. I'll tell you that now. You can talk about swimming, but other people are swimming. There's the big difference. You can talk all you like about Olympic swimming, about swimming in the sea, swimming through lakes. And if you've never swum in your life, I say jump into the river, a deep one, of course, see what happens. I won't encourage them to do it, but I will for a little bit. They will drown. And so let's just clear that bit. Not everyone's meant to be speakers. Don't try to turn everyone into speaker. It's not going to work because it's of the energy type. We all have energy profiles. However, if somebody has chosen to speak, how do you get them out of their shell? Very easy. Everyone has a set of values, loads of values. If you can get them to talk about what matters most to them, then they will be inspired, energized, and you try stopping them from talking. Here's an example. In 2004, 2003, I was the president of a organization, Junior Chamber International, but for my chapter in Birmingham. I was president in 2003. 2004, I was going to an award ceremony which is about 2.5-hour drive away. I was with my former president. So I was former president, and he was like former president 2 years before me. He's an IT geek. He works for a coach company. He's technical. He's not a presenter. He's a doer. He's a systems guy. He's got no charisma in terms of in that kind of personality we're talking about. He's not loud. He's very quiet, very silent guy. So remember, he's an IT guy. It's so funny. 2.5-hour journey. Hardly ever speaks to anyone. So I'm there, knowing what I know. I said to him, so Ian, tell me about COBOL programming. I don't know anything about COBOL programming. I'm not a programmer. I had no intention of being programming. Oh my goodness. 2.5 hours, he would not stop talking. He was so inspired. He was telling me everything about programming. Now, I'm a people person rather than the systems person. I respect systems highly. And when we got back 2 days later, he gave me a thick textbook on COBOL programming. I didn't even ask him for it. So in other words, I asked him just 1 or 2 questions. It was only one question, actually. Said, tell me about how programming works. I'm trying to get my head around it. Try stopping him. So it's not that the person you're talking about hasn't challenged speaking. It's just that you haven't found what matters most to them. Yeah. So I'm going to give you a series of questions. So I'm going to pretend you're all mentors now. And this is a great series of questions you can use it anywhere. I use it with my clients. So if somebody has joined an organization like Bloom, or you want to mentor them, they want to be a speaker, here's the question. Very important, the way you say it. And obviously, if you're speaking Hindi or any other language, you're going to have to change it slightly. Now, here's how it goes. What matters most to you? So if I said to you, Neetaji, you don't have to answer it. I'm just pretending you're my mentee. I say, Neetaji, what matters most to you? Sorry, what matters most about speaking to you? Not what matters most about speaking, because then you can give any answer. What matters most about speaking to you? You can say that about someone if you're a financial advisor. What matters most about money to you? You can talk that about someone's health. What matters most about health to you? Then they will give their answer. So initially they'll say, so if you say, I want to educate people. Okay, so the next question, so Neetaji, what matters most about educating people? Specific words, repeat the words they said. What matters most about educating people to you? And then stay silent. Don't interrupt them. Don't try to explain what you said unless they ask. And then they might say, well, I grew up in a very poor background and I had to struggle to get educated. My parents weren't educated and people stopped me from trying to stop me from getting educated. And so I thought this is a human right. Everybody needs to be educated. And I feel this will change people's lives because they take control of their own power. So you take the last thing they said, they take ownership, control of their own power. They have power. They're self-empowered. Here you go. What matters most about helping empower people to you? Eventually, they will tell you the real answer. So the real answer may be, I grew up in that background, poor background, uneducated parents, so on. But and then when you feel, not when you think, when you feel that, yeah, speaking from the heart now, then you say to them, so now, tell me a bit about education. Tell me your story about how you got educated. Get them to tell it, and you watch them talk, or you listen to them as well. That's it. Bus. That's how you get them to speak.
Yeah. So we've all heard about this 10,000 hour rule. You know, when you put in your 10,000 hours in your art, in your craft, in your profession, that is when you become an expert. Do you think something like this is also important for somebody who is aspiring to become a professional speaker or somebody who is looking forward to inspire people? Does that thing work, or it may or may not?
Okay, so the 10,000 hour rule, which was invented by Anders Andersen, I think it was Finland, is one of the Nordic countries. So in essence, I believe the 10,000 hour rule is very useful to have. But you can't wait to get 10,000 hours before you become a professional speaker, because that's like years and years of practice. And the truth is, if you do 10,000 hours of rubbish practice, then you're going to be a rubbish speaker.
Yeah.
Right? If you're going to be 10,000 hours of me on stage, then that's all you're going to be. If you're going to be a doctor and you're going to practice 10,000 hours of incompetent medicine, then you're going to be a master in being an incompetent doctor.
Yes.
So the 10,000 hour rules, how do you apply this? You apply it, you won't have, as a professional speaker, you won't have 10,000 hours to give and gain it over 5 or 6 years. It'll take you 10, 20 years. So you take every opportunity to present and speak. Yeah. And when you speak, there's a way to accelerate. I call it fast tracking your evolution. Here's how you do it. You listen to your own feedback. So say, for example, if I wanted to improve my presentation skills after this conversation we're having, I'll ask myself, number one, what worked really well? Number two, what could have worked better? Number three, what didn't work and I should stop doing?
Yeah.
And number four, what would have worked well, possibly, and I should start doing? Now, here's what happens. Most people will spend an entire year or more before they ask themselves that question. That's called one learning cycle. One learning cycle. If you do that every single time you present, and let's say today, if I do this now and then I've got a presentation later on this evening, if I do it then, I've got 2 learning cycles. I've done in one day what other people do in 2 years.
Yeah.
So by doing that, it's very important you focus on not just what's one thing that's worked really well, you focus on what 3 things work really well. Here's why. If I give you 100 compliments, or 100 people give you a compliment, and one person tells you, yeah, but your voice is a bit squeaky, or yeah, I didn't like that story. Whose feedback will you remember? You remember the one that was critical. Yes. Because we are very much negatively biased internally.
Yes.
Yeah, because we have an inner critic. So I don't generally ask feedback from audience, because I'm not saying you shouldn't have. I'm saying I don't ask feedback from audience. I observe my audience. And the reason is, it's most people's opportunity to critique. And unless they're my peer group, or they are way better than me, so if I'm surrounded by professional speakers of my caliber, or better, preferably, I want to be surrounded by giants. I can stand on their shoulders later on. If they're better than me, I'll bring it on. Okay, I'll learn. It might be a bit painful for my ego. So I don't even know what question you asked there now.
I can safely say that I was so immersed in your answer. Now I've also forgotten the question.
You see, I'm very good at helping you forget all your pains.
That's why you are the guest and I'm the one who's asking the questions. Yeah, there Meera is helping us. What was the most memorable feedback you received from your audience?
Oh, what was the most memorable feedback? You know what? The most memorable feedback wasn't feedback. It was what the audience does. So I get to speak to thousands of young teenagers, anything between the age of 11, 12, 13, all the way up to 18, sometimes older, but that's one of my areas. I speak at schools, colleges. And I remember a number of years ago, there was, I think, they wanted to speak. And now that particular school was a failing school. They had no money. And I said, look, I'll come and support you. So I turned up, and they thought, okay, we're going to cram as many students as possible into the room. Remember that these guys are teenagers, 15-year-olds. And in this audience, there's about 250 students. And then I had, I think, 3 lots to speak to. And I pick up on energy. I pick up on people's vibrations, their feelings, and so on. And I can see one kid at the back. And we were talking about, I was sharing a bit of my story, and I was really getting them to be more inspired about their life. That was the main thing. And I sensed this one kid at the back. And so I thought, okay, I need to reach him, because he was looking down. He looked like he'd been abused or picked on, bullied, victimized. And of course, that happens in schools. Kids can be cruel. So I asked the audience, so raise your hands, how many of you hate public speaking? And I think 80% put up their hands. Okay. And I asked a couple of questions. And I said, okay, so can I ask an audience member to maybe say why? So I actually went directly to that one kid. I said, can I just, and he started saying something. I couldn't hear him. Just, can I get you to stand up and say, it's because it's difficult to, I have the mic, you don't. So it's difficult for me to hear. So he stood up, and everyone, well, before he stood up, all the other kids went, ooh, teenagers, right? They're thinking he's not going to respond. He stood up and he spoke. And then throughout the presentation, my presentations tend to be interactive. He came 2 or 3 times and he presented from the front. Number 1, wow. He was a kid who had been bullied. Number 2, he's the type of kid who potentially would be somebody who could be harmful to society later on. And the teachers, the head teacher, and a number of other teachers said, how did you do this? So it wasn't that I was looking for compliments. Mean nothing to me. Insults mean nothing to me. Here's why: it's a projection of that person. So if someone gives me a compliment, if someone says beauty in me, I'm a reflection. I'm just beauty a mirror. Yeah. If there's something sees ugly in me, I'm just a reflection. I'm just a mirror, nothing more. Yes. So I'm not. That's why feedback isn't so important to me. Yeah. Does that make sense? And so, however, to me, that melts my heart. I did that for nothing. I get paid well to speak, but here I was not getting paid. To me, it was like, my job's done if one person, but actually at the end of the day, there's quite a number of kids came to me, like a whole gang of them came to me, and the teacher like came running up. apparently they're bullies and they're troublemakers, and they all shook my hand. Thank you, sir. That was so motivating. I should have told them about inspiration. So to me, it's the feedback I get from what they do afterwards. There's a particular technique that I get students to do, and I get them to go, yes, like a tennis player, when they go like that. And you can hear them in between, like break time, kids in the background shouting, yes. To me, that's feedback. They're taking action based on what I shared with them. That's the best feedback. I don't care what you write on your paper. That's just perspective you're giving me. That's not you speaking from your heart.
Wonderful, wonderful, Harun. I mean, really, it's been 50 minutes since we started this conversation, and time, as they say, has just flown. We didn't realize we are already 50 minutes into this show. What I would like to do is I would like to invite my co-host, Dr. Neeta, to ask you a few questions.
So thank you, Deepak sir. And Harun, let me tell you that past 50 minutes has really been mesmerizing.
Thank you so much.
In terms, as you said, this feedback is not really important for you. But the feedback which touched my heart was certain kind of words which you really used is, as you started, was fixated. Then you brought in resonance. After bringing resonance, the whole field of energy, the whole field from heart actually has come out. And I would love to ask you only two specific questions. One specific question, because I'm a firm believer of energy medicine. Okay, so I want you to express or just share in one of your case study, without sharing the name, without sharing any more content, how this energy medicine, you got influenced to enter into the space. And secondly, how was it being benefited to your client?
Beautiful question. So we're going to speak for another 3 hours here. You're now talking about the topic that I'm most passionate about, or one of the big topics. Energy medicine, in essence, what is medicine or what is healing? Now, healing, we heal from all sorts of ways. Healing is to make better again. That's to restore to optimal health. We understand that. Everybody can agree on that. Energy medicine comes from the perspective that at the very fundamental level of your existence, I'm very much a geek, science geek. I was supposed to be a doctor. I didn't study quantum physics, but I studied it, and not through academia. And so at the atomic level, at the very smallest atomic particles, not even micro anymore, all that exists, 99.999% recurring, used to be called empty space. 0.0001% is matter, is the electron, the clouds of electrons, not one single electron going round and round. It's a cloud of electrons. So, and it's a fuzz. You can't, it looks like a fuzz of energy. 99.999% they used to say is empty space, but now we call that energy. Number one. Number two is, in that space is information. Now, a amazing revolutionary scientist by the name of Nassim Haramein, I interviewed him for my podcast in 2007 or 2009. And when I asked him about this, he said, this information, this intention, intention, niyat, this intention is in this field of information and intention. He calls it the mind of God. The mind of God. So you looking at me or you looking at anybody else, you're only seeing 0.00001%, and it's only perception of who that person is. So in the case of when I do any kind of healing, number one is intention. Because when you come from the heart, it's a magnet. Your heart is a magnet. Every single cell has a magnetic field. The fact that you have a clear, concise intention that they are already healed is what creates the healing. So, for example, I won't give you the extreme examples because it's difficult to come to terms with, that's how extreme and amazing and miraculous it feels. It's only called a miracle because we can't prove it through science, by the way. But anyway, a simple example of had a young lady, young meaning younger than me, who for 9 years she suffered from multiple sclerosis. 9 years, multiple sclerosis. She couldn't walk. She comes to one of my retreats, and I said to her, "Oh, you'll be walking." She was walking within the retreat. We didn't focus that much on her. She was walking, and it's through intention. It's through getting her to be clear about who she is, what she is. That's the first one. Another example is a lady who's a skeptic, a cynic. She's always thinking she's dying, she's going to be sick. She came to me, first healing session. Even though she got better, she was still complaining. Second session, she said to me, "Harun, I'm not going to mention names or even country, actually. She's not from England. She said to me, not on the day, she just said she has an abdominal problem and she goes to toilet 2-3 times a night. Old lady, every single night for the last 30 years, something super traumatic happened to them, super horrible stuff happened to her. She didn't even tell me. She told my friend, which I found out a week later, that she had been suffering from colorectal bleeding for that period of time, 2-3 decades. I put my hand on her abdomen, her lower abdomen, and I did my own mantras inside my head. She didn't hear it. Did my prayers. Following day, bleeding stopped. And the bleeding stopped for a week, 2 weeks. And I thought, okay, I know this person. I know her mindset. Mindset is important. And then I thought, okay, I'm going to wait for when she starts complaining again. And then she started complaining again. And so through this friend, I hear about 4 weeks later, she's bleeding again. So energy medicine is about heart medicine, mind medicine. I am not the healer. You, the patient, are the healer. So you can use energy medicine for animals, for plants, for any kind of disease. It doesn't mean, of course, that you use energy medicine and you've got a negative mindset that's going to work, because there's something called the nocebo effect, opposite of placebo. You believe something bad's going to happen and you end up with something, you create your own destiny. So that's energy medicine in a nutshell.
Thank you. That has really been very, very main thing is understanding what energy medicine is and how do you relate to that energy medicine. So for me, that energy medicine is your aura, is your charisma, and is again, no words, just accept and surrender. Thank you for bringing this, Harun. Can you just share one aha moment of yours with the teenagers?
One aha moment with I've had plenty. I can't think from the top of my head, but I think the biggest aha. So tonight, for example, I'm speaking to a charity and they support young kids between the age of 15, 16, 17, 18, and even into early adulthood, as in the early 20s. These are vulnerable children or vulnerable young men and women who are highly likely to get into crime. So they're from difficult backgrounds. They're very influenced by we call it the wrong crowd, right? I mean, we have this. We have that in all cultures, and so the aha moment is not. I guess I don't remember compliments so easily. I don't remember feedback. Here's why. In any given moment, if you're speaking as a professional, if you're thinking about your past, you're thinking about the future, you're not present right now. And so, like I said, I'm merely a mirror. I'm merely a mirror. And for me, the fact that a student, a young person, once upon a time, I want to share with you one quick story. Can you remember the movie Naseeb? I think I can see faces which are old enough. Amitabh Bachchan's Naseeb. Okay, of course. You can't. Okay. So I watched that when I was 19, in Johnny Janardhan, the song, yeah? Yes. He says, at some point, he learned English. He watched all the movies. I'm translating this English, of course. And when he saw the movies, he thought he'd become an actor. But Kismet has landed him back in a hotel, in a restaurant, When I
Kismat
watched
ne ghumaya.
that's the one. There we go.
Yes,
Hotel mein
yes,
Pochaya. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so that one, brilliant. Okay, so, and here's the lesson I learned from that. I wanted to become a waiter. Talk about intention. I was only 10 or 11. And my father ended up buying, not because he heard me sing this song or hear this song, he ended up buying an Indian takeaway and then, into the restaurant business. I ended up for my teenage years working with serving customers. But I realized to be careful what you wish for, by the way, it'll happen. So what I realize is that's all I am, is a waiter serving others. That's all you can be, is be like Amitabh Bachchan or female version of Amitabh Bachchan. Just be of total, you don't have to pretend to be humble, just be humble. Just be yourself. So the aha moments, I think more of what are the ones that gave me aha moments. And that song, that movie gave me the aha moment of I'm only here to serve. And when closing time happens, I'll be gone. I'll be going to Uparwala and saying, hey, I'm back.
I want to complete that song, Dr. Neeta.
Ah.
Kismat ne
Yours, please, all
ghumaya,
yours.
hotel mein pahunchaya, hu yaron ka main yaar, dushmanon ka
Dushmanon ka
dushman,
dushman,
de
de
danadan.
How many of you thought you're going to sing Johnny Janardhan by the end of
Yes,
this
yes.
conversation? There you go.
Yes. Actually,
Yeah.
Harun, this is something which is very, very nice. And as I remember, when you had started the conversation itself, you talked about tags, you talked about labels, you talked about everything which we feel that I am this, I am that. Actually, that is not who we are. We have to really get down to thinking what we are. That is really so beautifully said. And this is my aha moment, which I take back from this session of yours, what
Beautiful.
I am, and opening the forum for everyone. In case if there is any questions from the participants, please park in your questions, or you can unmute yourself and ask the questions directly to Harun.
Yeah, Harun, I would like to invite Harish Mehta, sir, who is there in this room. He's been part of the conversation right from the very beginning. Just a brief introduction about him. He is the president of the Mumbai chapter of the Professional Speakers Association of India, of which I am also a part of, and Payal is also there. He is an inspiration for a lot of people about us, and I would like to ask him to say a few words. Harish, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm happy to be a part of the listening part today. First time I realized there's so much to learn when you listen from here and here. And I was so happy to learn, which I'm going to take to my heart and I'm going to speak about it. What matters the most? This line was beautiful. And I'm sure when you speak these lines to people, you make them think, and that thinking goes deep within. So, Harun, pleasure to listen to you, and looking forward to invite you to be a part of the PSAI India team. And Deepak, my dear friend, can share the invitation and would like to have you over at your comfort and convenience and ignite that spirit of speaking from here and here and get more and more of this. Harun, I have been trained by a great human being on planet Earth, the great Les Brown. I have invested 7 days of my life with him in person at Fort Lauderdale, USA. And today, as I speak, he ignited this fire in me. Harish, you have a powerful voice. Share your story with the world. So I moved from being a business leadership and an executive coach to become a speaker. And I speak today on moving from scarcity to abundance in your mind. So I call it Reset Your Mindset is my signature program, and I wanted to share this with you. We work on the same aspect, igniting the mind, which is so powerful. People focus more below the neck on other things that they need in life, like this, food, and everything else that grows disproportionately. But they don't focus on growing these muscles, which are so great and so much to give. And I learned this very late in life, 10 years back, when I was 52. But now I know there's so much to give, and I'm happy to invite you and bring you over to ignite the people in India, especially the tribe that we look after, the professional speakers, and happy to listen to you. Thank you once again for this privilege and opportunity to speak to you. Thank you. Thank you, Deepak. Thank you, Nita. Thank you.
Thank you ever so much.
Thank you, Harun.
It would be my pleasure. Anytime. It would be my pleasure. As soon as the planes allow me to fly.
Thank you, Harun. Hope to see you soon in person. And very, very soon on Bloom again, talking about so many other things which you can, help people, guide and make them better. There are so many facets to you. We've just spoken about a few small things about energy and about inspiration, about communication. So it is now 1:40 p.m. in India. It is very, very close to lunchtime. In fact, past lunchtime. It must be breakfast time in England. There are so many other people who stayed throughout this program for the last 1 hour, 10 minutes. I would like to express my gratitude to Meera for connecting us with you. Gratitude to Payal for starting this Bloom, which is a movement now in itself. Gratitude to you for taking time out and spending this time with us. Of course, we will be connecting again in the near future with you and with the Professional Speakers Association of India. Thank you so much for joining in, and hope to see you again soon, Harun.
Thank you ever so much for having me. It's been an honor.
Thank you. And it's a deep gratitude from the team Bloom for you for being here and giving your valuable time. Of course, your valuable learning, because this is what we are going to carry out in our lives. And this is how Bloom also stands for: kindness, compassionate, and collaborating with that compassion. It's not the mind which we connect with, it's the heart which we connect with. So thank you for giving your valuable time. Thank you, Harun. Thank you.
Before I close,
everyone.
I would like to confess and tell Harun, out of the 65, 66 episodes we have done till now, this episode ranks right there on top, on one of those few top 2-3 episodes we've had in the last 15 months. So thank you so much, Harun. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so
Harun.
much.
Thank you, Harun, so much. Beautiful.
You're welcome, Meera.
Thank you, and all the best, everyone.